I never imagined a simple flash drive could unravel a man's world like that. But there he was, my husband of 6 years, Jack Harlan, sitting across from me in the dusty courtroom of Billings, Montana, sweat trickling down his temple despite the air conditioning humming in the background. His tailored denim shirt, the kind that screamed old money rancher, clung to him uncomfortably, and his lawyer kept muttering under his breath. But Jack wasn't paying attention. His eyes were glued to the little gadget I'd just set on the oak table between us, a tiny cactus-shaped USB drive, its green spines catching the sunlight streaming through the high windows, casting playful shadows that belied the storm it held. Judge Evelyn Ramirez, a no-nonsense woman in her late 50s with salt and pepper hair tied back and eyes sharpened by decades on the bench in Big Sky Country, leaned forward. She'd seen it all: land disputes, cattle rustling claims, messy divorces, but even she eyed the cactus with curiosity. "Mrs. Harlan," she said, her voice steady like the Montana winds, "you've indicated you have evidence pertaining to the dissolution of your marriage." I nodded, my hands clasped in my lap, though my pulse thundered like a herd of wild mustangs. I'd rehearsed this with my friend Riley a dozen times. Stay cool. Speak plain. Don't let him rattle you. "Yes, Your Honor," I replied, my voice firmer than the rocky foothills outside. "It's all on this USB drive." Jack's lawyer, a slick type named Travis with a BOLO tie and a Rolex that probably cost more than my old pickup, arched an eyebrow. He shot Jack a look, then turned to me. "Your Honor, we weren't notified about any digital evidence being presented today." "I filed the notices properly," I said softly. Riley had double-checked every box, every deadline. Montana family law demanded it, and we dotted every I. Judge Ramirez nodded. "The court received them. Proceed, Mrs. Harlan." I felt the weight of stares from the sparse gallery. Marlene, Jack's mother, sat in the front row, her silver jewelry glinting under the lights, her rancher's tan hidden under a crisp blouse. She dressed like she was heading to a cattle auction in Bozeman, polished boots, subtle makeup, that air of untouchable Western aristocracy. She probably figured I'd fold like a bad hand in poker, take whatever pittance they offered, and vanish into the prairies like so many before me. Our eyes met briefly. Hers held that smug amusement. She had no clue what was coming. "What exactly is contained on this device?" Judge Ramirez asked, picking up the cactus USB and turning it over. 6 years of proof, Your Honor," I said. "Emails, bank statements, photos, voice memos, everything that reveals the real story behind our marriage and why it's over." Jack cleared his throat, a sound like gravel under tires. I looked at him then. Really looked. The man I'd married 8 years ago had warm eyes and a grin that could melt snow in January. He'd held my hand on trail rides through the Yellowstone backcountry, brought me coffee during late-night design sessions for my freelance gigs. He'd hugged my mom and called her Ma, even though his own mother sneered at it. That Jack was long gone. The one facing me now had hardened eyes, a jaw set like granite, his Stetson hat resting on the table beside him like a crown. Everything about him reeked of legacy ranch money. The Harlan spread stretched across thousands of acres in the Bitterroot Valley, and the bone-deep belief that he was above folks like me. "Your Honor," Travis interjected, rising. "We'd like time to review this before. The evidence stands on its own," I cut in. The old me would have apologized for interrupting, but I wasn't her anymore. Judge Ramirez regarded me with fresh interest. "Elaborate." I drew a breath. This was the pivot point. "On that drive, you'll find over 300 emails and texts between my husband and his mother about me. How I don't belong in their world. How my roots, growing up on a small farm in eastern Montana, make me an outsider. Unfit for the Harlan name. My words hung in the air. Jack's face drained of color. His knuckles white on the table. Travis scribbled notes, likely plotting damage control. But it was Marlene's shift that hit deepest. Her smirk faded. She gripped her purse like it was a lifeline. Serious claims, Judge Ramirez said evenly, eyeing Jack. Mr. Harlan. Jack's mouth worked silently. Your Honor. This is. My wife's twisting private talks out of context. Divorces get ugly. Folks say stuff they regret. Did you say it? The judge pressed.
Simple as that.
Jack glanced at Travis, who shook his head subtly.
Don't answer without me.
Something inside me clicked. For 6 years, I'd watched Jack charm his way out of tight spots, sweet-talking bankers for ranch loans, schmoozing at rodeos, using his family's pull to gloss over messes. He'd gaslit me, calling me overly sensitive when I griped about Marlene's barbs, paranoid when I questioned his late nights at the saloon. But here, in this courtroom smelling of old wood and justice, charm meant squat. Evidence didn't care about his pedigree or his rodeo buckles. Your Honor, I continued, there's more. Bank records showing he funneled our joint assets, ranch profits, investment accounts, into trusts under his mother's control, prepping for the split, and voice memos of them plotting to leave me high and dry. Jack's hands trembled. Real fear flickered in his eyes, not just losing cash, but being laid bare, stripped of the Harlan veneer. Travis bolted up, chair scraping. Your Honor, we request a recess. My client needs to confer. Granted, Judge Ramirez said, but her gaze lingered on the USB. 30 minutes. The gavel cracked like a rifle shot. As the judge exited, everyone rose. Jack huddled with Travis, whispering fiercely. Marlene hurried over, her boots thudding, face twisted in panic. I gathered my notes deliberately, Riley's advice. Don't rush. Own the space. My simple jeans and blouse felt right, honest against their polished facade. Passing Jack, he murmured, Clara, what the hell? We can settle this quiet. You don't gotta. I kept walking. Behind me, Marlene snapped, handle this.
Now.
The doors shut softly. In the hallway, my knees buckled against the wall. I'd done it. The cactus USB waited, ready to spill every secret Jack thought buried under Montana soil. 30 minutes till truth hit like a flash flood. 8 years back, I was at a charity art fair in Missoula, fidgeting with my booth setup. The venue was a converted barn, exposed beams, folks sipping craft beer from mason jars. I'd snagged a spot through my community college prof, who pushed for local talents in these Western fundraisers. My corner held 3 prints of my graphic designs, bold landscapes inspired by the Rockies, priced at $50 a pop. Humble goals. I was pondering an early exit when he sauntered up. These are killer, he said. Eyes on my middle piece. A digital render of a sunset over the Flathead Lake, blending hand-sketched elements with crisp lines. I figured he meant someone else's work. But turning, I saw him staring right at me, tall, rugged, with a smile warmer than a summer bonfire. Jeans, boots, a flannel shirt that fit like he'd earned it on the ranch. Thanks, I mumbled, expecting him to drift off.
He didn't.
Leaned in,
studying it.
It's got heart. Most art here's trying too hard to be fancy. This feels real. Like the land itself. That's what I aimed for, I said.
Surprised.
Jack Harlan, he offered. Hand out. Firm shake. Calloused from real work. Clara Dawson. We chatted, him asking about my techniques. My inspirations from growing up on a struggling farm near Glendive. He listened, really listened, not scanning for bigger fish. When I mentioned self-teaching design software cause fancy classes were out of reach, he nodded. Best creators I know bootstrapped it. Schools can stifle the spark. By closing, he bought all three for $300. Way too much, I protested. Not near enough, he countered. Dinner sometime? I'd love to hear more about your vision. I should have wondered why a guy like him, Harlan name meant vast ranchlands, old oil money ties, I'd someone like me. But at 24, his gaze made me feel seen. I said yes. Our first date, a steakhouse in Bozeman, cloth napkins and all. I felt out of place in my best sundress. But Jack didn't bat an eye. Asked about my childhood, mom's waitressing gigs.
No pity.
Just interest. Over pie. He shared casually. My family's got land, money from way back. But that don't make folks deep.
You?
Clara, you built this from grit. That's real power. I tumbled a bit in love right there. The next 2 years blurred like a dream ride through the Absarika Mountains. Jack hit fancy spots. Sure. But also my fave burger joint in Billings. Raving it beat any high-end fare. He visited Mom in our trailer. Sat on the sagging porch. Drank iced tea from mismatched glasses. Talked crops and weather like kin. Mom adored him. He's got honest eyes.
Hun.
Sees you true. Jack boosted my work. Brought takeout during deadlines. Sat quiet as I designed logos for local outfits. When a client shorted me, he helped craft a firm email. Know your value, he said. Don't let 'em walk over your kindness. He proposed on a crisp April evening. Post a grueling project. Kneeling by my desk with a ring box. Clara, you light up my world. Marry me. The ring. Elegant solitaire. Fitting perfect. I said yes mid-sentence. Things shifted at the engagement bash on the Harlan Ranch, a sprawling spread with endless pastures. A lodge-like house overlooking the valley. I'd known Jack's roots ran deep, but seeing it, generations of wealth. Portraits of Harlan forebears lining halls. Don't fret, Jack said, pulling up. They'll love ya. Marlene greeted us, elegant in Western chic. Turquoise jewelry. Skin smooth from spa trips. Her smile? Polite, but appraising. So this is Clara, she said, scanning me like livestock. Jack's told us plenty. The party buzzed with ranch owners, oil execs, folks tracing lineages to pioneers. I wore my nicest blouse, felt like an intruder. Jack's brother and sister-in-law chatted briefly, then ghosted. Marlene cornered me by the buffet. Jack says you do computer art? Graphic design. Freelance, I clarified. How quaint. Modern gig economy and all. She sipped wine. Jack's always drawn to eccentrics. College phase with some wild gal. We fretted, but he outgrew it. The hint, I was temporary. You'll adjust to our ways, she added. Different standards out here. You get me. I wanted to snap back, but Jack appeared, arm around me. Mom, quit hogging my fiancé. Marlene laughed lightly. Just chattin'. Darlin'. She's joinin' the clan. Clan sounded like a noose. Driving home, I mentioned her digs. She's protective, Jack brushed off. She'll come round. She never did. The wedding, grand on the ranch. 200 guests. Mom and pals in back, Marlene's crowd front and center. I'd wanted intimate. Marlene insisted on Harlan tradition. Dress she picked.
Decor her call.
Jack kissed me. Applause rolled. For a sec, hope flickered. At reception, overheard Marlene. She's sweet, but she'll learn her spot. Jack always circles back to blood. Frozen in my gown. The first fracture hit. I didn't know the whole dam would burst. The first year, I chalked it up to paranoia. Jack still pecked my cheek mornings, asked about my day evenings. Lace fingers on walks along the ranch trails. Weren't those the anchors of a solid marriage? The quiet affirmations? But shadows crept in, easy to ignore if you squinted. Small stuff. Marlene's helpful suggestions at family barbecues, like how to dress more appropriately for Harlan gatherings. Or snide remarks about my humble designs not fitting their upscale clients. Jack laughed it off. Mom's old school.
Babe.
Don't sweat it. Nights he'd come home late from ranch business, smelling of bourbon and perfume that wasn't mine. Just networking at the saloon, he'd say. Crashing into bed.
Idelić tam stajna waka.
Staring at the log-beamed ceiling. Telling myself trust was key in these wide-open spaces. We'd built a life on the Harlan spread, a cozy cabin separate from the main house, with views of snow-capped peaks. I threw myself into freelancing, landing gigs for local tourism boards, designing brochures that captured Montana's raw beauty. Jack praised them. You're talented as hell, Clara. But gradually, invitations to family decisions dried up. Mom handles the trusts, he'd say when I asked about finances. Old family stuff. One evening, after a tense dinner where Marlene critiqued my potato salad, a bit plain,
Dear.
for our tastes, I confronted Jack on the porch. She treats me like I'm not good enough, he sighed, staring at the stars. You're reading too much into it. She's tough, but she means well. I swallowed the hurt, like gulping down bitter coffee. Maybe I was too sensitive, shaped by a childhood scraping by on Mom's tips and farm chores. The Harlans had roots, land grants from pioneer days, oil royalties padding the coffers. Who was I to rock the boat? Year 2 brought cracks. Jack's late nights multiplied. I'd find lipstick on collars, strange charges on our joint card, hotels in Missoula, dinners for 2. Business expenses, he shrugged. Marlene started dropping by unannounced, rearranging our kitchen for efficiency, always with a backhanded compliment. You're doing your best, Clara, considering your background. I confided in Riley, my old college buddy turned paralegal in Billings. Over coffee at a diner. She frowned. Sounds like gaslighting. Document it. Just in case.
Nah.
It's fine, I insisted. But doubt seeded. By year 3, the affair surfaced not outright, but in whispers. A text popped on his phone during a rodeo. Miss you. Cowboy. Last night was wild. From Sarah, office. Jack snatched it away. Wrong number. That night, argument erupted. Who's Sarah? Jealous much? She's a ranch hand sister. Nothin'. But I knew. The distance grew, fewer touches. More excuses. Marlene fueled it. At a family branding day. She pulled me aside. Jack needs someone who understands our world. Ranch life ain't for everyone. I bit back tears, focusing on work. My designs took off, logos for craft breweries, posters for music festivals in Bozeman. Income flowed, but Jack funneled it into family accounts. Safer that way, he said. Year 4, confirmation. Hacking his email, guilt gnawed, but desperation won. I found threads with not one, but 2 women, a realtor in Helena, a bar owner in Kalispell. Steamy messages. Plans for weekends away disguised as hunting trips. confronted him under the harvest moon. How long? He denied at first. Then, it's stress.
Clara.
The ranch. Mom's pressure. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Love felt like a hollow echo across the canyons. Marlene knew. Emails showed her advising that Helena gal comes from good stock. Think long-term.
Son.
I spiraled, questioning my worth. Therapy? Jack scoffed. We don't air dirty laundry. So I suffered silent, shrinking like sagebrush in drought. Year 5, financial red flags. Our joint savings dipped mysteriously. Statements showed transfers to Marlene's trusts. Estate planning, Jack claimed. Riley urged, get a lawyer. This smells like fraud under Montana law, community property state. Remember? But hope clung. Maybe counseling. Jack agreed half-heartedly. But sessions devolved into blame. You're too clingy. Clara. The breaking point. Christmas Eve. Year 6. Family gathering at the main house. Roaring fire.
El Croist.
Twinkling lights on a massive pine. I'd slaved over sides, hoping to impress. Carrying pie into the den. I overheard them. Jack. Clara embarrassed me at the auction. Mom's right. She's always been out of her league. Marlene. Your father would have never allowed it. She drags the Harlan name. His brother chuckled. Charity case?
Bro.
When you dumped in her, the pie plates clattered. They turned.
Nori mors, Marlene's Maïd Kuli.
Jack deserves better stock. 6 years evaporated. The hollow in my chest deepened. I set the plates down, untied my apron, folded it neatly. Upstairs. I dialed Riley. I need out. Evidence, everything. You sure? This'll blow up. Dead sure. She arrived post-Christmas with laptops and resolve. Jack was at Marlene's Boxing Day hunt. We dug. Emails mocking my roots. Affairs 3 total. Marlene approved. Transfers totaling $120,000 hidden in ranch LLCs, illegal under Montana's equitable distribution laws. Worst, a voice memo from a family poker night I'd skipped. Jack. She'll crawl back to her trailer park. Too ashamed to fight. Marlene. Warned you about Maureen down. Easy fix, she'll vanish. We forget this mess. Riley compiled it on the Cactus USB. Prickly. Fitting for the pain it held.
Airtight, she said.
Adultery. Dissipation of assets. Emotional abuse. All grounds for a favorable split. I filed January 2nd. Jack smirked at the papers. You'll get squat. His confidence? Shattering soon. Night before hearing. At Riley's apartment. The USB gleamed. Last chance, she warned. This exposes em raw. They said I embarrassed them. I whispered. Tomorrow, they learn real shame. The recess wrapped. Back in court. Air thick as summer humidity. Jack looked wrecked, sweat-soaked. Green-tinged. Marlene clutched her seat. Facade cracking. Judge Ramirez. Mrs. Harlan. Proceed. I inhaled. Your Honor. That drive holds 347 communications degrading me, calling me trailer trash, unfit for Harlan's. Bank docs show $120,000 shifted to his mother's trusts. Violating community property. Evidence of 3 affairs. Encouraged by her. And memos plotting my ruin. Travis objected. Judge silenced him. True. Mr. Harlan. Jack mumbled yes. Crumbling under glare. Play a memo. Judge ordered. Riley cued it. Jack's voice boomed. She'll crawl back ashamed. Marlene's laugh. Maureen Downs fixable. Silence thundered. Judge's fury iced. Stand. Mr. Harlan. Admissions poured. Affairs. Transfers. Her ruling. I've seen ranch feuds. But this cruelty? Remarkable. Judge Ramirez's voice cut through the tension like a branding iron. Mr. Harlan. In my 25 years on this bench, handling everything from water rights disputes to custody battles in these Western courts, I've rarely seen such calculated deceit. The evidence here, adultery, asset hiding, emotional manipulation, paints a picture of outright contempt. Travis stood,
smoothing his tie.
Your Honor, context matters. Marital stress leads to regrettable words. The financial moves were prudent estate planning, common in ranch families to protect against volatility. But his defense rang hollow, like an empty rain barrel in drought season. Even he seemed deflated, knowing Montana law favored equitable division, especially with proof of dissipation, spending marital funds on affairs or hiding them. The judge let him ramble, then turned to Jack. Anything to add, Mr. Harlan? Any shred of remorse for treating your wife like disposable chattel? Jack rose shakily, eyes darting to Marlene, who sat stone-faced,
her knuckles white.
It wasn't like that. Things got complicated. The ranch. Family expectations. I never meant to hurt her this bad. Intent or not. The damage is done, Judge Ramirez snapped. She flipped through notes, her pen scratching like claws on rock. My decision, Mrs. Harlan receives 60% of marital assets, including those transferred to Mrs. Marlene Harlan's trusts. Return them within 30 days. Or face contempt charges. Marlene gasped, a sound like wind through barbed wire. Jack's face blanched whiter than fresh snow. Additionally, Mr. Harlan will pay spousal support of $4,000 monthly for 3 years, given his substantial ranch income and Mrs. Harlan's need to rebuild her freelance career amid this sabotage. Travis scribbled wildly, but objections died on his lips. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm referring the asset transfers to the Montana Attorney General for potential fraud investigation. Hiding community property in divorce? That's not prudent. It's illegal. Jack swayed. His career, ranch dealings, board seats on local AG co-ops, now at risk. Your Honor.
Please, he stammered.
The family legacy. Sit, she commanded. He collapsed. As for the abuse, she added, while I can't erase the scars, this record stands. Any future unions will have access to these proceedings. Mr. Harlan. The gavel fell, echoing like thunder over the plains. Adjourned. Pandemonium erupted. Jack lurched up, chair toppling. This is bullshit. She's nobody from nowhere. The room froze. Judge Ramirez's eyes blazed. One more word, and it's contempt. Mr.
Harlan.
Bailiff. Escort, if needed. He slumped, red-faced, humiliated. Good, let him taste it. The sting I'd swallowed for years. Marlene surged forward, hissing at Travis. Fix this mess. But her poise shattered, voice cracking like dry earth. I gathered my things, Riley at my side. As I passed, Jack met my eyes, pleading, broken. For a flicker, pity stirred. But I walked out, into the crisp Montana air, sunlight warming my face like a new dawn. In the hallway, Riley hugged me. You nailed it,
Clara.
Free at last. Behind us. Shouts, Jack and Marlene clashing. Travis mediating. Their empire cracking. 3 months later, life bloomed anew. I rented a cabin in the Gallatin Valley, cozy, with mountain views.
No Harlem ghosts.
Painted walls vibrant reds and oranges. Hung my designs. Filled it with thrift store finds that sparked joy. My business surged. Websites for dude ranches. Branding for craft distilleries. Old clients returned. New ones via word of mouth. Calendar packed with passion projects. Mom visited. Beaming. Proud of you.
Kiddo.
You stood tall. Riley and I hiked weekends.
Processing.
What now? She asked atop a ridge. Live, I said. On my terms. But echoes lingered. Jack's calls, first angry, then desperate. Clara, let's talk. I messed up bad. Ignored at first. Then Marlene's letter, stiff apology. Blaming family pressures. Hollow. One evening, phone rang, Jack. I answered. Curiosity winning. Clara.
I'm sorry.
Truly. Therapy's opening my eyes. Mom's influence poisonous. Silence. Why now? Lost everything that mattered. Realized I pushed away the best thing, you. Pity swelled. But caution held. Actions.
Jack.
Not words. We met at a neutral coffee shop in Bozeman. He looked worn. Ranch strains showing.
No squagger.
I was weak. Let Mom dictate. The affairs? Escapes from guilt. The money? Her idea. But my fault. Tears brimmed. I love you.
Clara.
Miss the real us. I sipped coffee. Heart twisting. Revenge felt empty now. I forgive for my peace. But we're done. He nodded.
Defeated. Fair.
Learned family ain't blood. It's respect. Communication. We parted civilly.
No reunión.
But closure.
Marlene?
Distant. But at a community event. She approached. Clara. I was wrong. Protective blindness. Understood, I said. But harm's done. She offered restitution beyond court, a scholarship fund for local artists from humble roots. I accepted, turning pain to purpose. The lesson? Families fracture from secrets, heal through truth. In the West's vastness, forgiveness bridges divides, but boundaries guard the soul. Back home, I designed under stars. Free. Wiser. The cactus USB? Tucked away a reminder. Strength blooms from thorns. But wait, life twisted again. Months on, Jack reached out.
Changed.
Therapy. Distancing from Marlene's grip. We talked. Slow, friends first. One sunset hike. He said, "Wanna try again? Real this time." Hesitant. But hope flickered. Maybe. With counseling. Equality. We rebuilt. Cautious. Marlene adapted. Respecting space. Not perfect. But humane, proving redemption's possible when lessons sink deep. Rebuilding wasn't a straight trail. It twisted like the Missouri River through Badlands. Jack and I started with coffee meetups. Neutral ground in small-town diners where locals nodded but didn't pry. Western courtesy. He'd show up in worn jeans.
No pretense.
Sharing therapy insights. Mom's control stemmed from her own bad marriage. I let it bleed into ours.
Idelisten.
Guard up like a fence post. Actions.
Jack.
Show me.
He did.
Volunteered at community art workshops I led, praising participants without stealing spotlight. Helped Mom fix her trailer's roof.
No fanfare.
Court-ordered support arrived prompt. Plus extras for my business, seed money for a studio in Missoula.
Marlene?
Thornier. She attended mandated mediation. Montana courts pushed it for family ties. Sat rigid, but admitted, I saw you as threat to our legacy. Wrong-headed. Fear don't excuse cruelty, I said. She nodded, offered olive branches, invites to neutral events, like a valley fair. Slow thaw, shared stories of her pioneer grandma. Parallels to my farm roots. We're more alike than I admitted. Not bosom buddies, but civil. She funded that artist scholarship, naming it Dawson Harlan Fund, bridging our worlds. My designs flourished. National gigs for outdoor brands. Capturing Western spirit. Featured in magazines. I spoke at conferences. From betrayal to breakthrough, art heals. Jack courted gentle, wildflower bouquets. Trail rides reminiscing good times. Mr. Laugh.
Clara.
Your strength. 6 months in. We dated proper, no rush. Counseling weekly, unpacking baggage. Building tools. Communications key, therapist said.
No secrets.
Agreed. Jack cut toxic ties, limited Marlene's input. Focused on us. A year post-divorce. We remarried, small ceremony on a bluff overlooking the ranch. Just close kin. Mom walked me down. Marlene stood witness.
Teary.
Vows. I promise honesty, respect, to lift you up. Honeymoon. Camping in Yellowstone.
Stargazing.
Second chance, Jack whispered. Life settled. Blended ranch duties with my studio. Co-parented dreams. Him expanding eco-farming. Me mentoring artists. Bumps came. Old insecurities flared. Once, at a family barbecue, Marlene slipped into judgment. Jack shut it down. Mom, we're equals here.
Growth.
The light lesson? Betrayal scars. But forgiveness, earned mends. In America's West, where lands forgive harsh winters with blooming springs, people can too. Hold folks accountable, but leave room for redemption. Secrets erode foundations, truth rebuilds stronger. Years on, our story's legend among friends, a cautionary tale turned hopeful. The USB? Framed in my studio. Symbol of turning pain to power. But deeper, it taught empathy. Jack's flaws rooted in pressure, mine in self-doubt. Together, we rose above. One evening, watching sunset paint the prairies gold, Jack squeezed my hand. Thank you for the chance. Earned it, I smiled. And in that vast openness, we found peace. Wait, this part seems shorter? No. Expanding to full arc, to flesh, daily life post-reunion hummed with purpose. Mornings, coffee on porch. Planning days, him checking cattle. Me sketching logos. Evenings, dinners debating ranch innovations. My input valued. Challenges, trust rebuilt brick by brick. A late night sparked doubt. He showed phone logs unprompted. No more shadows. Marlene evolved, joined book club, I suggested. Discussing women's stories.
Learning, she admitted.
Community embraced. At rodeos, folks clapped our comeback. Inspired others in rocky marriages.
Kids?
Someday. But first, solid us. The humane shift. No villain's ruin, but growth. Jack's career steadied, referred fraud dropped with restitution. Marlene volunteered.
Softening.
Lesson echoed. Drama's thrill fades, compassion endures. In Western ethos, self-reliance meets community. Forgiveness isn't weakness, but strength. As seasons cycled, Montana's harsh winters yielding to vibrant summers, our renewed bond deepened roots like lodgepole pines after fire. Jack dove into sustainable ranching, converting acres to regenerative grazing, crediting my eco-design influences. Your vision opened my eyes, he'd say, as we toured fields buzzing with pollinators. My career soared, a book deal, designing through adversity, sharing how betrayal fueled creativity. Tours took me coast to coast. But home pulled strongest. To our cabin now expanded with a sunlit studio. Marlene? Transformed gradually. Holidays shifted from tense to warm, her sharing recipes, me teaching digital art. One Christmas, she gifted a family heirloom necklace. Belongs to you now. Welcome. Truly. Mom thrived, too, moved to a cottage on our land. Gardening, joining our table talks. Ripples spread, the scholarship funded dozens, kids from trailers like mine pursuing dreams. At graduations, I'd speak. Payne's a teacher, rise kinder. Jack and I faced storms. A drought hit the ranch hard. Stress tested us. But we communicated, nights mapping solutions together. Team, he affirmed. A child arrived, little Emma. With my eyes. His grin. Raising her, we vowed openness, family stories shared honestly, lessons embedded. The old wounds, scars, not open. The USB, now a relic, reminded, vigilance in love. Final reflection, life's drama, betrayals, revelations, mirrors Western tales of outlaws redeemed. The shock of exposure led not to destruction, but enlightenment. Unexpected healing birthed from ashes. In the end, humanity wins when we choose growth over grudge. That's the light, forgive. But never forget the path walked.